they've completely lost the plot, or they are deliberately losing the plot. The other Pakistani terrorist groups have spread, they've strengthened, and their ability to strike, their capacity to strike has now been demonstrated. What the Pakistanis will have to do is continue fighting this war of attrition, which frankly speaking they are not winning. And this is a war that can carry on endlessly, because the people who are fighting the Pakistani state are people with a millenarian mindset. As the Taliban used to tell the Americans that you might have the watches, we have the time. I think the attack on the police station, the CCPO, who is almost like the police commissioner of Karachi, on his office on that building, which is in the heart of the city in a very high security zone, is really a major shock to the security situation in Pakistan and whatever the Pakistanis have been claiming. The fact that this attack follows the attack on a mosque in the police lines in Peshawar, in which over 100 people were killed, I think is significant, not just in terms of the fact that the Taliban, both the Pakistani variety and the other hues of Taliban or Islamic militants inside Pakistan, that they are targeting the security forces, which they have already proclaimed, the army and in particular the police and the paramilitary forces, but also in terms of the kind of reach of these groups. It was until now it was thought that their activities would remain limited to the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province and what was the erstwhile tribal areas, which are now called the tribal districts. So it was assumed that their attacks and their operations would more or less be constricted out there. But when these guys start attacking a megapolis, the commercial capital of Pakistan, like Karachi, then I think it sends alarm bells ringing, not just in Pakistan but around the world. The kind of operation that was carried out in Karachi is a fairly complex operation. If you have something like 6, 8 or maybe 10 terrorists enter with arms, fully, with weapons, with suicide vests, enter into a highly secure zone, enter into a building of a security force, and then create mayhem out there, then it means that a lot of preparation went behind this attack, and it happened without the Pakistani intelligence agencies being wiser for it. There is no news till now at least that there was any intelligence input of such an attack taking place. Which means that these the cells of the Taliban and the other Pakistani terrorist groups have spread, they've strengthened, and their ability to strike, their capacity to strike has now been demonstrated. There are a number of conspiracy theories in Pakistan. I cannot vouch for the veracity of these theories, and probably they are just conspiracy theories, but the fact that these conspiracy theories are now there out in the public, people talk about it, people actually believe in it in Pakistan, suggests that a complete lack of confidence in the Pakistani establishment, in the Pakistani state. And for example, one of the conspiracy theories doing the rounds is that these attacks and the spate of attacks that have been taking place are basically aimed at delaying the elections. There is a demand, there's a political turmoil taking place in Pakistan. You have Imran Khan on the war path. There's a complete political mess inside Pakistan, and there is a demand that fresh elections need to be held, at least in 2 of the provincial assemblies. And the government of the day is trying to delay those elections. And one of the reasons which is being given is that the law and order situation does not permit elections to be held at this point in time. So this feeds into this kind of a conspiracy theory. The other conspiracy theory which is doing the rounds is on the economic mess in Pakistan. Pakistan is desperately trying to tell the world that they need to go easy on Pakistan, they need to pour in money in Pakistan because of the kind of security challenges that Pakistan faces. And if the economy goes into a meltdown, then the Islamist militants will, run amok, and it will be very difficult for Pakistan to handle its affairs. And then, those entire tropes of nuclear weapons power and, nuclear weapons falling in the hands of the terrorists come into play. So, an attack like this, in the place it happens, suggests that at least people do come up or conjure up conspiracy theories that maybe this was a false flag operation. Fact of the matter remains that there has been a massive resurgence in the Pakistani Taliban operations inside Pakistan, especially after Pakistan helped, quote unquote, break the shackles of slavery in Afghanistan, a term which was used by former Prime Minister Imran Khan, also known as Taliban Khan, for his sympathy and his affinity towards the Taliban. So there has been this spread of the Taliban, and what has been happening is that if you just look at the statistics of the number of terror attacks that have happened after August 2021, when the Taliban captured Afghanistan, captured Kabul, there is a massive spike of attacks inside Pakistan. And clearly there have been warnings which have been issued, including by Pashtun groups like the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement. They have been warning the Pakistani military, they have been warning the Pakistani government, they have been warning Pakistani civil society, Pakistani media, which has been ignoring them, partly under the instructions of the Pakistan Army. But the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement has been saying that this menace of terrorism is spreading. It is almost like now a cancer where the secondaries have set in. It is metastasizing and spreading at alarming pace. And they have warned that it will not stay limited to places like the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province or Balochistan, that it will cross the Indus into Sindh as well as Punjab, which are the real hinterlands of Pakistan. And the reason why they've been issuing these warnings is because some of the so-called strategists in Pakistan, mostly retired generals, have been saying on a number of forums, in number of occasions, that look, if there is some resurgence in terrorism, but it remains limited to the erstwhile FATA region, the tribal areas, or it remains limited to some parts of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province or some parts of Balochistan, it really does not matter. As long as it does not enter Punjab, as long as it does not hit Sindh, it's okay. This is collateral damage, it can be handled. But now, when these guys start hitting Karachi and maybe who knows wherever else, there has been a failed suicide bombing in even in Islamabad, then it means that these people, their network is spread throughout Pakistan now. There will not be a cleanup, and the reason is because there is complete policy confusion inside Pakistan. When you have the foreign minister of Pakistan, Bilawal Bhutto, even now insists that the Pakistani Taliban are a different kind of fish compared to the Afghan Taliban, and making that distinction, this is that old good Taliban versus bad Taliban distinction, then you clearly know that the Pakistanis are not sincere and not serious in fighting this threat. The reason being that the Pakistani Taliban were born from the womb of the Afghan Taliban. They are joined at the hip, they are Siamese twins. There is nothing to separate the two. Ideologically, or even in operational matters, or even for that matter ethnically. There are massive overlaps between the two. The Afghan Taliban were given sanctuary by the Pakistani Taliban when they were in trouble, and the Pakistani Taliban enjoy sanctuaries in Afghanistan. And that organic relationship that is there between the two, if despite that the Pakistani government, Pakistani officials, ministers, politicians, generals are still making that distinction, then I think either they've completely lost the plot, or they are deliberately losing the plot. You address this problem. Now, the last time the Pakistani state went after the Taliban, they carried out a number of operations, but then rounded it off with the mother of all military operations called Zarb-e-Azb, which started sometime in 2014. But the thing is that for the Pakistanis, that was somewhat easier, because at that time the Taliban, the Pakistani Taliban, had actually carved out, for want of a better word, liberated zones. So it was easy to carry out a kind of a steamroller operation to clean that area. But that's not going to be possible anymore, because there are no such so-called liberated zones or no-go areas, at least as far as the Pakistan military claims. There are no such areas. So a steamroller operation is not possible anymore, which means that you will only have to carry out surgical operations, if you will, against these groups. These will have to be intelligence based. You will have to, your counter-insurgency kind of counter-terrorism operations will have to come into play. The intelligence factor will be extremely important, which means basically doing more of the same, which is not really solving the problem. The Pakistanis will have to do is continue fighting this war of attrition, which frankly speaking they are not winning. And this is a war that can carry on endlessly, because the people who are fighting the Pakistani state are people with a millenarian mindset. As the Taliban used to tell the Americans, that you might have the watches, we have the time. It is something similar as far as the Pakistani Taliban are concerned. It is you kill one and there are 10 more who will rise up to take the killed man's place. So this is what is happening inside Pakistan. This is what is behind what has happened in Karachi, and the fear is that this will only continue to grow. The capacity of the Pakistani state to handle this is severely compromised. They want to leverage it to get economic assistance, which I don't think they are going to get. And even if they were to get it, I don't think they have a plan to combat it. That is where they are at, and this is something that the Pakistanis have brought upon themselves.